Hello, Hypno Junkies, and welcome back to the craziness known as Chaos Head Noah. Boy, it's been a day since the last episode, and I made a few little jokes and comments about where I thought things might have been going and stuff, and I got a wild and crazy theory, which I'm just going to throw out there, because I think it's wild and I think it's crazy. And I guess we will find out, maybe sooner, maybe later, whether I am a genius or a nutcase. I'm starting to think maybe I was right about some of the jokes I was making last episode. I'm starting to think maybe Remy's not real. And the reason I'm starting to think that is because of all the coincidences and the showing up to help us and all that. And that's, that was commented on by our protagonist, and I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, but there's other things that prove she is real. But I'm starting to think, wait a minute, there's a lot of coincidences that point in the other direction too. I think she was inserted into the class like Takumi was originally thinking at the beginning, except I don't think Remy did that. I think he did that. I think he's her delusion. And his want for that or whatever changed reality to allow her to be in his class. We did not see her in our class before that happened. Before she showed up in our box with our homework. And it's not just that she wasn't there. She never came up to us and talked to us like Mizumi did. And of course, there is all those coincidences about her being there to help us exactly when she needs to be there. All the allusions that Ayase, aka Fess, made to maybe you've already got your sword and it's there, but you're just not seeing it, or you're seeing it but not perceiving it. Like maybe Remy is the sword, quote unquote. And a couple of other things that occurred to me that might support that was that one thing I mentioned an episode or two ago where I talked about how we got a friend request literally the moment before Remy appeared. And I wonder if that wasn't some way of us sort of manifesting our delusion or our desire or whatever it was without consciously realizing it. It also occurs to me that technically we saw Remy before that because she was the demon girl that we saw at the third murder scene. But it's also interesting to note that when we saw her then, Remy was talking like Shogun. She was saying, "I finally met you." Or I'm glad to finally meet you. Something along those lines. She was talking like Shogun. And while there are some inconsistencies with how Remy is manifested in the real world, there are similar inconsistencies with how Shogun is manifested in the real world, because we have evidence that he's a secondary personality and we have evidence that he exists in reality. So I don't know. I'm starting to think that maybe she's not there. Or, I mean, she is there, but we brought her into existence via our just subconscious wants for someone to save us. Or be a friend or whatever. Be our salvation. So far, Remy has been saving us. Remy has been our salvation. Even though our salvation is supposed to be a sword. So, I don't know. I feel like Remy actually is going to end up being associated with the sword or something to do with that. I'm not sure of the logistics. I guess we'll find out, but I just wanted to throw that out there. So at some point, I'm either going to be proven to be a genius for figuring it out or an idiot for guessing wrong. But I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. In the meantime, back we go to this. When last we left, we saw Ban with his contact at the Frieza Collections. We also learned a fair bit about our third murder victim. So apparently they might have been targeted for a reason because of the things they were saying. I'm assuming Takashina was also targeted for some reason because it's Takashina. But we also don't have an ID on the second and third murder victims either, so they may end up being people as well. I'm pretty sure that the police ID'd the 5 high schoolers that jumped off the roof of that building. Because I remember Sua talking about how they knew what schools they went to and they talked to the parents and all that stuff. So those guys have been ID'd. I don't know what they have to do with anything, because we don't know what they are, but the police do. I'm pretty sure the second and fourth victims, the man-child and the vampire victims, those guys have not been identified yet, to the best of my knowledge, so we'll see who they end up being in time. Anyway, moving on, since it's the weekend, I've been unable to get Remy to come over, so I was forced to spend 2 very anxious days all by myself. Oh, don't worry, she'll appear when she needs to, like she always does. I had Remy pick up some groceries on Friday so I could survive the weekend without leaving my base, but I'd come very close to sending her a text asking her to come over, multiple times. But in the end, I hadn't sent anything. The only thing that gave me a break from my anxiety was the half hour I'd spent watching the latest episode of Bloodtoon. Also curious how Remy, and I've commented on this in the past, it's curious how Remy resembles Sarah, his beloved Saratan, to a relatively large extent. Even in extreme circumstances such as this one, I still had to make sure to stay up to date on Bloodtoon. Remy was my sole source of comfort in the third dimension, but when it came to the second one, Bloodtoon was the one that fulfilled that role. Well, to be more specific, Saratan was. They're not completely dissimilar. Maybe that's why they're getting brought up. The eye color is technically different. I'm pretty sure Remy's eyes are more pink than purple. After I'd finally overcome that weekend, Monday came. I took a peek at Freepara's Phantasm section, only to find it in a state of complete disarray. Wasting no time, I immediately followed a link taking me to @channel. Are we checking the schedule so we can go to a concert like we were talking about? It was a total shit show. And that's just going to start scrolling. Oh, what's this about Phantasm is over? FES of Phantasm's real name is Kishimoto. We know this. When she was younger, she was hospitalized for mental illness reasons. Again, is the people with the swords going to have histories of mental illness? We've speculated this in the past. And by we, I mean me and me alone. The name of the hospital was AHM. Cool story, bro. Too bad it's total BS. Deets, please. Whose eyes are those eyes, lol? Who the F is FS? You serious? Lol, AHM is only meant for patients with severe mental disorders, FYI. For fuck's sakes, more haters? What a poor attempt at bait. If you're gonna bother making a thread like this, at least include a source. Fail. This is such bullshit. FES has never been in that dumbass hospital. How do you even sleep at night spreading such obvious slander? I've never even heard of AHM before. Stop making shit up. The one watching you was IFS. Nice emote. Strike the stake, strike the stake. Don't know what that means. Strike the stake right into these dumbasses spouting BS. The new next-gen victims is going to be one of you bastards. Number one's claim is legit, though. Fess was hospitalized for a very long period of time for mental health reasons. The hospital publishes a free newspaper in which a selection of drawings, essays, poems, and other works done by patients are shown. Her song lyrics can be found there. That seems like an invasion of privacy. That's a weird thing to do. You can find all this on the hospital's website, dipshits. Her full name is Kishimoto Ayase. AHM equals Arc Heart Medical. With a URL. Finally! Is this seriously all it takes for you guys to abandon her? Hey, lots of people have mental health issues. I should know. I help them. Well, that's just fine by me. Just means I've got fewer rivals now. Festan will be mine. See you all at the wedding. Wait, Lamau? It was actually true? What the fuck? Yes. Hell yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. I declare a flame war. You're gonna give me a tip for flame war? Really, game? Really? There's even pictures? I'm gonna piss myself laughing. Notice of Phantasm's termination. Is Phantasm gonna disband because of this? Because I used to like Fess quite a bit, sexually. Someone just keeps saying yes. Everyone here is anonymous. 4chan. This must be someone's guidance too, Lamau. The verses that there aren't used in Phantasm's songs, are they? The one watching you, blah, blah, blah. Don't quit Fess, I'm seriously gonna cry. I think I sort of understand it. They say there's a fine line between genius and insanity, after all. Takumi always talks about how every girl, 3D girl that he knows is a total head case. This just backs that up, right? Band breakup flag for the win. More flags. Tonight the black mass cometh. Lol, Festan, fap. Put it away. Well, that sets Phantasm's fate in stone. For what it's worth, I guess this is a more fitting end for them than going mainstream. This is an end? Come on, guys. Any comment from Fest yet on their official website? Doesn't matter how much noise you virgins make on here. Fest doesn't look at the past, only the future. Can't wait for our next prophecy predicting all your deaths. Be right back, putting on my roller skates. Okay, what's the problem, though? This reeks of some weird advertising scheme by Phantasm. Desperate to keep your dead band alive much? Lol. It was always obvious that Fess is a total schizo. Why is everyone acting like this is a surprise at all? So Fess always was mentally ill. But that's what's good about her! Calm down, everyone. This is all just some magnificent bait from Festan. Fess's spirit collapsed because the world is full of ill will. Its power awoke the punk part of her soul. Those keyed aggressive lyrics are the cry of her sublimated soul. We, on the contrary, should celebrate the facts bared by 12 as holy grace. The website's down, though. Are they trying to bail? Is that all I'm getting? I followed the URL Poster 12 had sent. So the hospital? Yep. archeart.m.com. Apparently Archeart Medical was an old-school psychiatric facility that only treated severe cases of mental illness. Or at least that's what the website said. The website had pictures of the place, and frankly, it looked like a straight-up penitentiary. There were iron bars at every single window. Yeah, that's how they used to be. I wasn't even sure if it was still open or not. The homepage hadn't been updated for 4 years or so, but just as the poster on that channel had said, beneath a certain poem was the name and photo of a young Ayase. Again, this seems like a real invasion of privacy here. Why would they do this? Ayase was mentally ill. Nice poem. It wasn't that it was shocking to me or anything like that. After all, I'd regularly gone to a mental hospital too, back when I was in elementary school, so really I felt sympathy for her. Ayase and I were the same. She had that bewitching aura to her, and every person my age in Shibuya thought she was so charismatic. But despite how different that made us, in this one way we were the same. The fact that we had that in common reinforced my hypothesis that I had the same power she did. The power to project delusions onto reality. It wouldn't be wrong to say that it gave me some courage, maybe even strength. Though, there was one problem, was that up until now, I had taken everything Ayase had said at face value, but that might have been a mistake. Things about how to acquire a D-sword. Things about how getting my hands on one could save me. It wasn't the phenomenon she'd shown me that was making me doubt her, but the words she'd said. I wasn't sure whether or not to believe her. Maybe. Call time. The sudden ringing on my phone startled me. You can always count on them to take you by surprise. I nearly pissed myself. That was why I hated these things. The loud ringing refused to stop, so I clicked my tongue and grabbed it. It was probably Nanami calling me. Is it going to be that same number we don't recognize? She was probably just calling me to bitch about whatever random bullshit was bothering her. Kill me now. Oh, that's ballsy. That's not something I expect from our paranoid little protag. Annoyed as could be, I pressed the accept call button and held the phone to my ear without checking who was calling. Boy, we're living on the edge lately. I had no idea why I did that. I don't either. After everything that I'd been through, why the hell had I not checked the caller's number? Watch it just be Nanami anyway. Nope, it's this again. It's this fucker. What came from the other side of the line was a certain melody playing loudly. What is the significance of this? You may pass. I frantically checked the number on the display. It's the number that's supposed to be out of service. Shit, I knew I should have checked. If anyone's going to screen their calls to a ridiculous extent, it would be this guy. Of course he doesn't look. But whatever. We know now. It was them. But how? The number isn't supposed to be in use anymore. When I had Nanami call the number to check, that one notice played. That was a weird sentence structure. Maybe the prankster had reactivated it? What do I do? Panicking, I turned toward the center of my room. Surely Rimi would be there, ready to give me some advice. But she obviously wasn't. Of course she wasn't. Rimi was at school right now, in the middle of class. I told her in advance that I wouldn't go to school today, so she hadn't come to pick me up. As I freaked out trying to figure out what the hell to do, You May Pass kept on playing from my phone. A whole minute had already passed. Thank you for not playing it, for my sake. Just telling me so it's not driving me nuts. From the small amount I'd listened to earlier, I could tell there were other sounds mixed in with the song. The few things I could make out were the sounds of car engines and people walking, Whoever was calling me, they had to be outdoors. I mean, even if this song was playing, surely there's no crosswalk where the walk sign stays up for a solid 60 seconds, right? But who the hell was calling me? I can only think of one person that would pull a prank like that. Shogun. And yes, as I mentioned a couple of episodes ago, I just threw the text up there. I went and looked up some YouTube videos. Yeah, that's totally a thing. There are actually crosswalk signs in Japan that play that song to let you know that you may pass. Well, how about that? Learn something new every day. Now, really freaking out, I looked at Saratan, who was standing next to my PC screen. What should I do, Saratan? Saratan smiled at me just like she always did. Why don't you turn it off? Just ignore it, you silly Billy. Oh, yeah. We could just hang up, couldn't we? I should have done that from the beginning. I put my thumb on the button to end the call. But for some reason, before hanging up, I felt the undeniable urge to listen to You May Pass just one more time. Just for a little bit longer. Is there some subliminal message hidden in it? I mean, the last time we got this message, we ended up basically having a very strong delusion of nobody else existing in Shibuya as we went out to meet Shogun on the street. Is something else going to result from this? It felt strange, even to me. It creeped me out. There was no reason I should have hesitated even remotely, and yet I, almost subconsciously, gripped my phone and brought it to my ear. I'm reminded of Rintaro phoning himself through the phone wave name subject to change. There's that again. It switches to the Wii U, and the buzzer. It came surging out of the phone, a fierce pain. A violent, piercing, nearly ultrasonic sound. That sound shot throughout my entire body. It was as if lightning had struck my head. Boy, this is really reminiscent of... I don't even remember what they called the phoning back to the past in Steins Gate, but whatever. My entire body was paralyzed. I screamed as loud as I could, yet I couldn't hear my own voice. Boiling. My brain. My heart. They boiled, they bubbled, they melted in a mush. Pain crawled from deep within my body, tearing me apart. This'll teach you not to check the number. My consciousness liquefied and coursed through my veins, and when it finally arrived at my heart, it erupted in a resounding explosion, then vanished. Overwhelmed by these horrific sensations, I was unable to figure out what was going on. I could no longer even think. Well, that's going to have consequences. That seemed like a weird transition. Why are we fading from white? What are you doing here? Holy crap. That scared the piss out of me. Don't make that expression in my face like that. Jeez. What the hell is going on? When Kusunoki Yua slowly opened her eyes, she saw her class, Class 3B, enveloped in pure chaos. Several students had collapsed. Holy hell. Their eyes had rolled back into their heads. Foam bubbled from their mouths as their entire bodies convulsed. Well, this is escalating. Another group of students were crouched low to the floor, cowering, pressing down on their heads in pain. So we seem to be immune to this, to an extent, and by we I mean Yua. The students that remained shot up from their seats and made straight for the hallway, even though classes were technically still in session. The teacher was too focused on taking care of the students that had collapsed to pay those who left any attention. Why is our phone buzzing? All the students that had run away were screaming in terror, but none of that seemed to register within Yua's mind. Her phone had been vibrating in her skirt pocket for a while now. Once she finally realized that, Yua slowly reached for it. Is it going to be the same number? That's a weird sound. She attempted to stand up, but was unable to keep steady and fell from her chair. Staying low to the ground, she leaned against the wall. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. You should have checked the number. Not that it would have meant anything to you, I guess. After she put her glasses back in place, Yua pressed the accept call button and held her phone to her ear. You may pass?
Hi.
Hello?
Hi.
Yes? Oh.
はい。
Yes? Wow, an actual call.
えっと、
Oh, me?
一応大丈夫です。
I'm fine. As she answered the question, Yua grimaced and pressed on her forehead. She could hear the clamor of her classmates in the hallway, as well as the voice of her teacher trying to help the unconscious students. But it all sounded so terribly distant. Who were you talking to?
はい。
Yes?
え、
Yes.
あの、
And
あなたは、
you are? Oh, we don't even know.
はい。
Yes.
はい。
Yes.
そうですか。
I see.
それで、
Then that means...
Eh.
Huh? Suddenly Yua went pale. With a gulp, she covered her phone with her hand and brought her voice low. Her voice had very clearly been shaking.
そんなわ
Is
け
she
ないんです。
crying or sweating? That can't be true.
だって、
Because
本当は、
in actuality... Upon saying that much, Yua's voice began to falter. She hung her head.
本当は、
In actuality, it was me. It was you? Are you the murderer? Or one of the murderers? We're still speculating that maybe there's more than one person responsible for the New Gen incidents. Not necessarily just us. The commotion in the hallway intensified. Everyone was looking and pointing in the same direction, anxious expressions on their faces. The windows in the hallway rattled, as if they were being hit by a fierce gale.
はい。
Yes,
そうです。
that's right.
私の
My
妹です。
sister. What about your sister? Your sister? What's this about your sister?
わか
Yes,
りました。
I understand. Was your sister one of the victims? At last, Yua bowed her head as if the person she was speaking to was in front of her, then hung up the phone. Then she looked up and directed her gaze toward where everyone was pointing, beyond the window.
空が、
Oh dear, the sky. What about the sky? It was as if a seal of white paint had coated the surface of a grand lake. The sky, which had been previously filled only by its light blue color, was turning white. The white was spreading at an impossible speed. It bled rapidly across the sky, eroding each and every speck of blue it could find. Boy, the evil organization is just cranking up the biorhythm waves, ain't they? It's turning white. Okay, things are going cray, and Chapter 5 Delusions has ended. And we ended with quite the delusions. Hey, police force, how do you feel about this? Chapter 6 Noah. If it were a day like any other, getting released from a lengthy meeting should have put Ban Yasuji in a good mood. Nope, you got work to do. You are probably don't even know where to start from the way things are going right now. However, today was not a normal day. The detective removed himself from his peers, moved to the nearest window, and attempted irritably to call his junior. Literally on the phone. Sua, his partner, had not shown up to today's meeting. Uh-oh. I get wanting to play hooky on this, but did you really have to leave me to go it alone? Darn kid, Ban thought to himself. At first glance, Sua may have appeared lighthearted, but in actuality he was quite the diligent man and took his job very seriously. With this being Ban's opinion of him, what had happened today was quite the shock. He had attempted to call him several times, but it always went to voicemail. Ever since he had heard of a fairly unsettling story from Mimose 2 days prior, Ban had been faced with a constant feeling of uneasiness. And today, only more troubles had been added to the pile. There was the incident with Sua, but that was not all. When Ban was reporting about the GE raid earlier this morning, he was immediately shot down by Matsunaga. We don't have time for crackpot theories, the supervisor said. Could you not add to the pile, kid? I've had enough for 1 week. Ban waved his fan at his face repeatedly and let out a small sigh. I could use a fan right now. And right when he did, the call connected, and he heard the voice of his junior on the other end. Well, he heard some of his junior on the other end. Sir, it's you! There you are, you schmuck! Where the hell have you been? The reception was extremely poor. Which part of the countryside did Suwa lose himself in, Ban thought, scratching his head. So, interpex my... Wait, you know? Probably apologizing, saying sorry. I'm... interrogating someone? My way? Huh? What are you saying? Where are you? As Ban shouted into the receiver, Sua's voice disappeared on the other end, replaced by a continuous rustling sound. How about now? Can you hear me? Yeah, I can. Where the hell did you... Well, I thought I'd do things my way for a bit, so I went and asked around. Uppity little... The way Suwa acted on his own without getting permission was not something that was worthy of praise. However, Ban could not help but smile wryly to himself, as he too was taking unauthorized actions even now. He considered that perhaps he was a bad influence on his junior. I might be close to getting my hands on a clue. It'll be conclusive evidence as to who's the real New Gen culprit. Well, that's impressive. The color in Ban's eyes shifted. Keep that top secret, though. I might be mistaken. I wonder where he is and what he's doing. I assume we're going to run into him on some other character very shortly. Doesn't matter. Just get your rear back here right now. You hear me? No, I gotta dig some more. What? Are you talking back? Ease up. I've got... Suwa? Suwa! Oh dear. That's an earthquake. Right at that moment, the area below Ban's feet began to shake. This is being a hell of a day. An earthquake? Man, that GE rate is skyrocketing. The shaking gradually increased in intensity. It was hard to even stand up straight. Unable to maintain his balance for any longer, Ban got down low on the floor. It's a big one. Here comes that volcano in the middle of Shibuya. The other detectives, who at first seemed to be underestimating the seriousness of the situation, all quickly moved under their tables. Everyone duck and cover. The clock fixed to the wall, the paper cups and pens on top the tables, the projection equipment, they all crashed to the floor, one by one. The two whiteboards standing side by side near the podium fell to the ground as well. It's like being stuck in some insane turbulence. That was how it felt to Ban. He felt like the ground was disappearing beneath him. His entire body was being swung left and right by the shaking. It seemed to have a seismic intensity of around 5 or 6. Damn. As the Great Kanto earthquake finally arrived, of all times for it to hit, it hits now. Uh-oh. Immediately after thinking that, a fierce pain shot through Ban, causing him to groan out in pain. It felt as if he had taken a violent blow to the head, which he probably did. Oh, never mind. But he had not been physically struck by anyone. It's simply a severe headache. Suddenly a scream echoed throughout the conference room. Gritting his teeth, Ban looked up to see one of the detectives gripping his head as he writhed in agony. And then, like a lifeless doll, he fell to the ground with a thump. Most of the other detectives were gripping their heads as well, their faces contorted in pain. What was this headache that bore no resemblance to any he had experienced before? Whether it was connected to the earthquake, there was no way for Ban to know. Hey, look, everything's still standing up. Eventually, the shaking gradually subsided. With his vision blurred, Ban looked out the window. Everything was covered in a milky white light. A light so dazzling, Ban could no longer keep his eyes open. He's got his eyes closed half the time anyway. Well, the chapter is called Noah, and we know the evil organization is up to stuff, so it looks like they're kicking off. Well then, speaking of a mess, that's your door, sir. I hope you enjoy being in here, because you're not leaving anytime soon. As I opened my eyes, I felt a sharp pain, sharp enough to crack my skull open. I found myself slumped over in the middle of my room. I tried to get up, but the pain in my head suddenly shot to the rest of my body, and I nearly fainted from the agony. I let out a pained groan. Getting back to the idea of delusions and our boy here affecting reality, I wonder if the pain everyone else just felt and that whiteness and everything, I wonder if it was actually caused by our reaction to the phone call. Like whoever made that phone call to us did so to affect the entire city through Takumi. Is that possible? Maybe? I'm going to roll with that for now. But still, yeah, your door. Good news, you have a much more effective lock. Don't you feel safer? After 5 full minutes of pure writhing torture, the pain receded slightly, and I managed to stand up by using the leg of my bed to support myself. You're going to need to sword to get out of here at this point. I wiped off the cold sweat from my forehead with my hand. My room was completely devastated. It was as if a tornado had ripped through it. Oh no, the waifus! Oh, this is the worst day. All my waifus lined up on the shelf had toppled over, and some had even fallen off the shelf entirely. The bed was now sitting at an angle, and the piles of eroge and packages had crumbled to the floor and scattered everywhere. What the hell happened? If I remember correctly, there had been a phone call that had played the melody of You May Pass, before then transitioning into something like an ambulance siren. It was exactly the same as last time. If that was the intended effect, we did not have to wait long for it. Yeah, start screening your calls, please. This number goes on a blacklist starting now. That's right. Right when the buzzard sounded, I'd heard the ground roar, and immediately after that, my whole body had felt like it was boiling and melting. And then I couldn't remember a damn thing. It was all completely blank. Oh, God. Was it an EM wave attack from Shogun? What if Shogun was capable of something similar to what was in the patent I'd found? Just the thought alone sent a chill down my spine. While trying my best to endure my headache, I looked up at the ceiling. Of course, there wasn't anything to see up there. But if he was reading my mind, he'd have to be using a satellite that'd be in orbit way up there. Again, tinfoil hat time. Tinfoil hat. There's no way. That isn't possible. But considering what Senna had told me before, that patented system could already be in use. Maybe it was in use, and a few people were already abusing it. And maybe Shogun was among them. Remember, you're Shogun. I know you keep forgetting this, but you need to face facts. No, there was no way. It was way too far-fetched. There was no way an old fart like him with 1 foot in the grave would have private access to a satellite. Unless he was one of the key persons behind a top-secret black project sanctioned by the government? Scaring myself with my own delusions wasn't helping anything. Since something had actually happened, I decided to look up what the hell it was online. Yeah, I don't think he realizes that this affected the city, because he has no way of knowing what happened outside his box, but he's about to. Still fighting my headache, I crawled toward my computer. Huh? Oh. Well, you've lost connection. The computer should have still been on. The monitor should have been displaying a wallpaper with Serotan on it, but it was pitch black. I hadn't set it up to automatically go into sleep mode, so it wouldn't make any sense for it to do that. Maybe your computer is just off, my guy. I was feeling dizzy. It was as if I had no strength left in my body. Even standing up took almost everything I had. Gritting my teeth, I attempted to move the mouse around. No response. Next, I tried pressing the power button. Oh, we are on. Okay. After a second, the hard disk started, emitting its typical scratching noise. I sank down in my chair. As I waited for my PC to boot, I frantically grabbed my phone, which was still on my desk. I checked the time. Huh? 1 p.m.? Before I'd gotten that phone call, what time had it been back when I was browsing the Ayase stuff on @channel? When I tried using my brain, the stabbing pain coursing through it got even worse. I'm not sure we registered the time. We probably did. Think. The time. Remember the time. It couldn't have been... Yeah, it hadn't been noon yet. Which meant... I've been unconscious for over an hour? Or maybe I've been sleepwalking? and I'd ended up wandering off somewhere else for an hour? The chances of you wandering off are slim. No, I'm not. I'm not a sleepwalker. Yes, you are. I shook my head violently, trying to stop thinking about things that would make me sink back into negative bullshit. As I did so, my vision wobbled from the pain still hammering in my head. It was like a lump of lead was sitting in the middle of my skull. And when I looked at my PC monitor, I saw... Oh, that's not good. Hey, what the hell? Oh, man. You know things are bad when you get the red screen of death. No way. The hard disk data was corrupted? That earthquake did a number. And that number is that hexadecimal number right there. Oh no, this is the end of everything. Yep, your computer has been corrupted. Your life is over. This was where I stored my giga-sized collection of R18 Moe pics. Oh no! My Eroge save data, no! All my bookmarks were cited I browse daily, no! My minimum attendance chart, no! And the thing I treasured the most, my ESO save data. Why would you save data for your MMO be on your hard drive? That's not how MMOs work. You're telling me everything's gone? Oh no, Neidhart's dead. I wanted to cry out in frustration. I wanted to smash my keyboard in anger. I wanted to kick the wall with everything I had. Oh, this is going to lead to something bad. Before I did anything, though, I needed to check if I could restore it. But my whole body was still heavy and my headache refused to go away. All I could do was bite my lip and sink deeper into my chair. It was over. My life was over. Losing my ESO data meant I had no reason left to live. Nothing mattered anymore. It all burned away. Just kill me. Wait a second, Taki. With an angelic smile on her face, Saratan gently called for me from atop my desk. Cool your jets! Since ESO is an online game, shouldn't the save data all be on a server somewhere? Yeah, no shit. I mean, duh. By server, you mean the dev server? You think I worry about losing my Guild Wars 2 save data? So even if your computer did kick the bucket, Neidhart's data should still be on the server, righto? This is going to be an analogy for something else, isn't it? Oh, you're right. I was so dizzy and confused I'd forgotten even the basics. It felt like I'd finally found a ray of hope shining through the endless despair. I knew I could depend on my waifu. I'd still have to give up all my treasured pics and MP3s that I hadn't backed up, though. I needed to start reformatting the OS as quickly as possible. Hey, back up your stuff. And I wanted to see with my own two eyes that my ESO data was safe. Time to go to At Cafe. Though in order to do that, the headache that was still torturing me had to stop. Unfortunately for me, the pain didn't feel like it was going anywhere anytime soon. Well, we're stuck in our crate, so who are we now? Are we Senna again? There was rarely ever a moment in which the screens of Shibuya Station were not covered with advertisements, video clips, or music videos from latest popular artists. But everyone's connection's down? Ah. And yet, currently, the screens were instead displaying a female anchor with a grave expression on her face. It was an ongoing special TV broadcast. Sensational words decorated the top left of the screen. S15 earthquake in Shibuya, over 200 casualties. SI5? I'm going to say SI5, because Ban was saying it was a 5 or a 6, so whatever SI stands for. Earthquakes were not particularly unexpected in Japan. The Tokyo metropolitan area had already fallen victim to several seismic intense 5 earthquakes. Oh, there we go. Seismic intensity, SI5. Earthquakes over the years. However, as the media gathered more and more information about the incident, the sheer number of casualties made it clear that this was no ordinary earthquake. It was especially peculiar when compared to the 2005 earthquake, also seismic intensity 5, where no fatalities had been reported. Moreover, the epicenter was Shibuya, a city which was already the center of attention in Japan due to the New Gen incidents. There had already been an earthquake in Shibuya approximately 3 months prior. It was a seismic intensity 3 quake, and 8 people had died. Maybe Shibuya's cursed. That was what the people observing the breaking news about the latest earthquake were thinking, even if they were not saying it aloud. In any case, each station had started their special broadcast right when the earthquake hit. Information was having trouble circulating. The total death count was still unclear. Nonetheless, the female anchor continued to report. Reading from a stack of papers, she declared, "The Fire and Disaster Management Agency has confirmed 31 deaths, and that number is expected to rise as they continue to aid those affected. The causes of death remain unknown, but Furthermore, various reports describing a mysterious white light appearing immediately after the earthquake had hit. According to these reports, the light had been accompanied by a massive shockwave, and it had turned the sky completely white. I almost feel like this is the 6th New Gen incident, frankly. The cameras spread across Shibuya's Scramble Crossing had caught the aforementioned light on tape, and after the earthquake ended, nothing but pure white footage was displayed on loop on the jumbotrons located there. The discoloration that had appeared alongside the earthquake had not simply been a dull white, however. It had been utterly blinding. Shibuya had been momentarily enveloped in light, the sheer glare forcing each and every resident's eyes shut. If this were an era of war, the people would have undoubtedly believed it to have come from a nuclear weapon. And as a matter of fact, there were some who claimed to have spotted a white mushroom cloud floating a few hundred meters above Shibuya, though it was quick to vanish. No one knew what the origin of that light was, nor if it was connected to the earthquake. I mean, they happened at the exact same time. And then, just as mysteriously as its arrival, the white sky had returned to its original color in less than an hour, and now a dull light blue lay above the people of Shibuya. The asphalt of Dogenzaka was very slightly cracked, its damage only millimeters wide. And the multi-tenant buildings, together with many other structures along Center Gaia, had all grown small crevices along their walls. Well, that's our interlude. Back to our protag. Oh, we seem to have cleaned up. The reformatting of my OS had taken nearly 2 hours to finish, and yet my headache still hadn't gone away. I'd even lost consciousness a few times from the pain. I'd passed out on my keyboard from exhaustion before, but today was the first time I'd literally passed out. On the plus side, though, the pain was way more bearable now than it had been 2 hours ago. I wet my throat with some cola, and then summoning all my energy, stood up. I fixed my broken bed and made it level again, then I cleaned my floor to the extent that I'd be able to walk around. Okay, so we've cleared a way to our door. It took a lot of effort to do because of how weak I was feeling, but it had to be done. I wouldn't have been able to leave my own room otherwise. If Shogun were to attack again, not that I'd actually know if it was him this time, I would have been trapped and unable to escape. In other words, I'd be completely fucked. I had to secure an escape route or else. Once I'd finished reformatting my OS and cleaning my room, I went straight to the PC, installed ESO, and tried logging into Baselard. I need to name a new alt in Guild Wars 2, Baselard. It worked! It worked! Nightheart isn't gone! My items and equipment are all here! Oh, thank God. Thank God. That's all we care about. Man, I remember back when I was playing vanilla WoW, there was so much drama and people would lose their shit over such stuff that just seems so stupid in hindsight. Anyway, I was so moved that I tried to get up and pump my fist in the air, but even that took too much energy, so I gave up halfway through. I couldn't have been more happy to see my other self alive and well. I thought he was gone forever. Okay, time for the next step. While it was definitely a huge load off my shoulders, I still wanted to try and figure out what exactly had even happened. Not to mention demand compensation and a formal apology. It seemed like an earthquake, but there were way too many things that didn't add up if that were true. I looked for Grim inside Baselard, but he was nowhere to be found. I went to check the chat room, but since I'd lost my bookmarks, I had trouble finding it. When I eventually did, though, I discovered that Grim wasn't there either. Of all times for him to have gone AWOL, why now? With no options left, I had no choice but head straight to Taboo itself, and this is where we find out it affected the entire... Yep. This was your first indication, considering we had no idea what was happening outside the crate. On it, I found the following article. Over 200 casualties in Shibuya. So there really had been an earthquake. It had been a seismic intensity 5 quake, and loads of people had died. The casualties were currently set at 200, but the article stated that that number may even go beyond that. There were also reports of Shibuya's sky turning pure white for a short period of time, as well as a giant mushroom cloud, though no one knew if either of those were connected to the earthquake. The earthquake was also being discussed on @channel, with people posting things like, more Shibuya stuff, or Shibuya is over, or whatever else. There was also a video uploaded on there showing footage of Scramble Crossing that had been taken from its various surveillance cameras. This wasn't just an earthquake, right? Why are there multiple mentions of the man-child incident here as well? That's curious. Did we miss something? Did we miss another video? When it happened, I'd been hit with a terrible headache. And it wasn't just your normal headache. It felt like my head was boiling. And even now, almost 2 hours later, I was still experiencing throbbing pain and fatigue. Maybe that's how you'd end up if you got stuck in a microwave. A phone wave? Name, subject should change? If I thought about it that way, my delusion that Shogun was going after me with EM wave attacks might have not been so far-fetched. A bladoop? Oh! Someone entered the chat room. Okay, is it Grim, is it Shogun, or is it someone else? Right at that moment, I heard a familiar sound coming from my PC. It was the notification tone that played whenever someone entered the chat room. Grim might have joined. I want to get the full story of what had happened, so I opened up the chat room. Okay, that tells me it's not him. Yeah, that's a motherfucker. Wait a minute. That's a motherfucker with an extra U. That's not Shogun, that's Shogun. It's a gun that shoots shoes? The moment I saw that name, a shriek escaped my mouth. What was with this timing? Could he actually read my mind after all? The hand I was using to hold the mouse was trembling. My entire body was frozen in fear, overriding even my headache. Just looking at Shogun's name made me feel sick. That's not Shogun, that's Shugun. But I couldn't look away. I wanted to close the chat window, but I was in such a state of shock my mind and body felt like they had been ripped apart. I tried desperately to move the mouse, but my body simply refused to listen to me. I felt chills on the nape of my neck. I was being watched. God's gaze. Or maybe it wasn't God. Maybe it was Shogun's gaze being shot down from an orbiting satellite. Just leave me alone. I wanted to run away. But where would I run? It didn't matter where I went. Even if I went to the very edges of Japan, he'd still catch me. It's been a long time. That was the first thing Shogun said to me. Why is there a typo? Is that actually just a typo, or is that relevant? He'd said it like he was just casually saying hello to a friend he hadn't seen in a while. But I knew for a fact I had never, ever considered this guy a friend. My teeth sank into my lip as I stared at the words written across the monitor. However, instead of making me freeze out of fear, the message from Shogun instead sent me grabbing for my phone. It was past 3 p.m. At this point, classes were probably still in session. But surely my situation wasn't hopeless. If Rimi was here, she could do something. That's what I wanted to believe. Will that belief manifest her? Will she appear outside our door? I went to my address book, although it wasn't much of a book considering how empty it was, and called Rimi's phone number. Save me, Rimi! Every time we say this, she appears. Do you hate me?
Rimi,
What is Shogun up to? Do you hate me? It was hard to breathe. I couldn't think straight. Rimi wasn't picking up. There was no voice on the other end, only the monotonous dialing sound repeating endlessly. Why? Whenever I'm in trouble, you're always there for me, so why aren't you answering? Is it possibly because only Shogun or Rimi can be active at once? Shogun is here, so Rimi can't be? I have a present for you. I don't want your present. Take it back. A present? Could you not? Your presents suck. You're going to send me some more disgusting shit? And this time you're going to blame me for it. You're going to pin me as the new gen culprit. No, anything but that. It's not me. I'm not the culprit. How and when is he sending these messages, by the way? We were at the Cafe relatively recently. I felt like a fish that had been ripped out of the water. I was losing oxygen. My mind was going fuzzy. My only ray of hope left was Rimi. I grasped my phone tighter and tighter, praying with all my might to the other end of the call. She picked up! No, it went to voicemail. Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. I have a present for you. I hope it pleases you. Voicemail? That couldn't be. Uh-oh. Yep, this is definitely a situation that we're going to have the option to make better or worse. We're just going to keep running on neutral for now. I wonder how proactive or reactive he's going to start being when we start actually choosing things. But in the meantime, it's the coasting playthrough. Discouraged, I hung up the phone. I wrapped my arms around myself. Before I knew it, my body started trembling. I was more afraid of Shogun than I thought I was. It's Shugun! But why wouldn't I be? He was a homicidal maniac posing as a handicapped person, and he'd already committed 5 unspeakable crimes. And I was the next one in his sights. Somebody save me! What's the present? Yeah, so far every time I'd murmured that, Rimi would show up with perfect timing, and yet despite that, she wasn't picking up the phone. Is she going to end up being a victim? I'm not necessarily certain that disproves my Rimi doesn't exist theory, but it might. My gaze wandered around the room, eventually landing on the fake D-sword leaning against the corner. I grabbed it and held it in my hand, clinging to the little hope I had. It was just a toy. Ayase had assured me of that, but I wanted to think that maybe, just maybe, there was still a chance. As long as I had a D-sword, I could be saved. I could even strike back against Shogun's attacks. So please, I beg you. I held up the D-sword and focused on the tip. Please become real. Please save me. This is some anime shit. Please don't work. I closed my eyes tightly and directed all my strength into the hand grasping the hilt. Silence. Yep, that's not going to do it. I slowly opened my eyes. Fuck all. It was just a toy. Damn it! Damn it, damn it, damn it! You useless piece of shit! I violently threw the toy sword on the floor and began to pace around my room. What's this, present exactly? Biting my nails, I searched through my possible options. But I was so overwhelmed by terror that I couldn't even think straight. Maybe the present will be a dead Rimi. Maybe the present will be the sword. I don't know. We still don't know what the hell Shogun's up to. I tried to think harder, but my head started hurting again, so there was nothing to do but go back to the computer. Oh, he just left. Shogun had already left the chat room. All that remained were those 4 lines. It's been a long time. Do you hate me? I have a present for you. I hope it will please you. I didn't want to see any of it, so I hurriedly closed the chat room with Shogun wasn't in it. It's not Shogun, it's Shugun. My body was still trembling. Shogun was trying to provoke me. Was it Shugun in episode 1? I may have to go back and double check. Was it fun fucking with me like this? Had I been chosen as the next victim and this was a means to that end? Or was I just the perfect person to pit his crimes on? Someone save me! Save me, please! I stared at the post-awakening version of Seratan as if I was clinging to my only refuge. Being alone is scary. I didn't want to be alone. I wanted someone to be by my side. I wanted someone to protect me. Right. There's school. If I go to school, Rimi will be there. You're going to try to catch her on the way out? I couldn't bear staying here alone with my spiraling anxiety. I took off my worn-out sweatshirt that I usually wore around the house, threw on my uniform, and left my base. I'm terrified. I'm sure we're going to run across the gift, the present. And now I'm even more sure, because I hear the wee-oo, wee-oo. Once I was hit with the cold air of the outside world, my headache ever so slightly subsided. The city had a more restless atmosphere to it than usual, probably due to the earthquake from earlier. I didn't know that for sure, though. In the distance, the sounds of sirens continued to echo endlessly, but I wasn't sure if they were from ambulances or fire trucks. Could have been both. Yeah, that may not be from an incident. That may just be from the fact that we just had a huge-ass earthquake. Yamate-dori, which was 1 block away from me, was completely jammed up. Traffic was bumper to bumper. There were multiple visible accidents, most head-on, and the cars involved had simply been left abandoned on the road, their drivers nowhere to be found. Those abandoned cars were the cause of the traffic jam. The other drivers were honking their horns like crazy. As I was wandering the streets to get to school, I saw a dog crossing the road barking. It was a chihuahua sprinting at full speed, dragging its leash behind its small body. Its eyes were bloodshot and a large amount of drool was dripping from its open mouth. It must have gotten separated from its owner. As I absent-mindedly watched it get further and further away, I tripped on something and nearly fell over. The asphalt was cracked, and one section of the road was ever so slightly lower than the rest, which had most likely come from the earthquake. Stopping right there, I looked up at the sky. There were a few white clouds drifting calmly across the dull light blue. Just after the earthquake had hit, something similar to an aurora had formed in the sky and tainted it pure white, but the traces of it had already disappeared. This isn't right. This isn't Shibuya. I couldn't calm down in the slightest. Not just because of the earthquake, and not just because of the headache either. Are there no people around again? Are we in that situation again? Because I think we've commented that we saw the chihuahua, but I don't think we've seen any people. It wasn't just those, but a certain urge that was threatening to overtake me. For some reason, walking around like this, it made me feel like I wanted to kill someone. Good God, dude. Simmer down. By the time I got to the school gate, the anxiety and sense of dread I'd been feeling were increasing by the second. I just want to murder someone. I had the chills, my body wouldn't stop shivering, and my headache was coming back. When I looked closely, I noticed a group of students formed around the third-year building. I looked for Rimi within them. The third-year building? I thought the third year was the floor above ours in the same building. Well, there was probably an incident here. Was it Yua? That would suck. For some odd reason, everyone was looking toward the top of the building, and even those who weren't soon followed suit. Almost like a bunch of lemmings. Is there someone up there? Oh, hey. Alright, you're not dead. Hey, Taku! Holy shit, what a day, huh? Fucking hell. Mizumi-kun rushed over to me. I should ask him where Rimi was. Watch him not know who she is. Look who decided to come to school today. Actually, I'll save the pissing you off for later. He looked gravely serious and his face was pale. Seeing Mizumi-kun like this was very unusual. What the hell was going on? Is Rimi actually dead? Things are bad right now, man. Real bad. Things are bad? What did that mean? What was bad? Everyone's pointing. Look up. She was sick, right? She was sick? Is it going to be Orihara? People probably found out she was sick in the head and it made her crazier. Oh, Ayase. It could be Ayase. It could be Fess. She was saying earlier that she could fly. This is going to be gnarly. Real gnarly. Hey. Morbid. I know I shouldn't, but I really want to see someone die. Jeez. Okay, the biorhythm affecting stuff is clearly in full swing, and not just on us. It's going to be crazy gory. It'll be awesome. Hurry up and jump. Who's up there? It's Fess or Orihara or Rimi. It's got to be. I feel like it would be Rimi based on what Shogun said to us earlier. I could hear things like that coming from everywhere around me. Don't tell me. You could just look up. I have a bad feeling about this. Fearfully following the gazes of the other students, I looked up at the school building. Don't have pink hair, please. It is Ayase. She's got her sword out. On the edge of the rooftop stood a single girl. In her hand, just like during the concert, was a D-sword, with a pose emblematic of praying to God in the heavens above. On the edge of the roof stood Kishimoto Ayase. And that's going to be bad. Are we Ayase now? Oh, she is not perceiving the same world we are we?
写真の影に潜
The shadow of the wicked heart lurks within that body,
目には映らない存
a
在
presence which the eye cannot perceive. Kishimoto Ayase felt the wind blowing. Is this the poem that she published? The cold wind brought with it a faint hint of winter. Her expression inundated with pain. Huge drops of sweat formed on her face as she faced the chill gales.
離れようとも
Even if I tried to split asunder, even if I tried to split asunder,
冷めぬ悪夢は
perpetual nightmares, alas, take shape. The Sume Academy rooftop was enclosed by a 2-meter-high wire fence. Ayase was standing on the other side of it, occupying a space of only around 30 centimeters. I'm going to have to go back and look at that poem she published and see if she's reciting it. 10 minutes had passed since she had first started standing there. One more step and she would fall from the roof of the 4-story school building. Many students were gathered below Ayase, watching her with bated breath.
やがて剣と
And eventually become a sword,
好みを切り裂く
one that will tear this body apart. She's going to fall on her sword? Although the police and emergency services had already been contacted, they had yet to arrive, likely due to the earthquake that had only hit a few hours prior. I'm pretty sure Fess has an ending, so there's got to be some way to avoid this, or maybe she's not going to die, but we'll see. The teachers were running around in a panic, scrambling to get gym mats ready in case of the worst possible outcome.
無関心という名の盾で
Should they bear the shield of apathy? Yeah, I don't think the gym mats are going to matter. She's got a fucking sword.
戦火を免れる人々
Ye souls shall escape the flames of war. And yet, Ayase stood completely still, unperturbed by the ruckus below. Or rather, she had deliberately cut herself off from the rest of the world that lay beneath her. Can't help but notice the sky is red for her. Can we comment on that? As she gazed up to the sky, Ayase closed her eyes, her pose emulative of that of a maiden praying to the heavens. Due to her good sense of balance, the wind did not manage to sway her slender body. A fact made all the more impressive by her grasping a sword as long as she was tall.
神聖なる戦場の敵は
On a battlefield reborn,
心の内の
come foes with malice in their hearts, ill will without compare. The sword, her D-sword, was blinking with a pale blue light. As if synchronized with it, Ayase's labored breathing continued, and then she began to murmur once more.
悪意は
When the time comes, malice shall possess its own will,
そして
and
その姿
thus reveal its true form. The verses she unfolded through her murmurs soon vanished into the wind. Ayase opened her eyes and gazed at the crimson sky spreading over the buildings of Shibuya.
この世界は悪
This
意の
world
妄
is
想に
laden
満ち
with
溢れて
malicious
いる
delusions.
みんな他人の不幸が
Everyone thrills from the misery of others.
目を閉じても
Try as I might to close my eyes, to cover my ears, it is futile.
昔からずっと
For ever so long now,
私のそばを離れてくれ
they
ない
have never left me. As she breathed the soliloquy into the air, Ayase pulled her gigantic sword to her chest, and gently embraced it with both arms. Curiously, the sharp sword did not leave a single injury on her. Never mind.
帰りたかった
Maybe you're immune to your own sword. I wanted to return.
大いなる意志が住む
Return to the other
もう
world,
一つの世界に
where the greater will resides.
そのために
And
心
to
を切り
accomplish that
刻み
feat, I hewed my heart, accepting it all within,
混沌の器としての
dreaming to be
夢を
the vessel of chaos. Ayase's face twisted in sorrow. Tears quietly spilled from her eyes. Is there a meaning to this, or is she just going off because the events are causing her to go crazy like everyone else? Droplets, flowing voicelessly, were all swiftly carried away by the wind.
だけど
However,
グラジオールの体
oh, that's a name we've seen
が
before.
している
Gladiole quickens increasingly so. We saw that name on the Wikipedia for DI swords.
時間が
There is
ない
no longer any time left.
見つからない
I cannot find them.
見つからないのよ
I cannot find them anywhere.
天国の
Like other
扉も
D sword users, because
賢者も
we found at least 3.
夏の神罰も
Again, is this nonsense or is this things?
黒騎士の伝説は
Are the Black Knights even real?
歌はもうたくさん歌ったわ
I have already recited an unending number of verses.
それで足りないって言うなら
If that was insufficient for you, oh, greater will. Ayase spread her arms out far and wide, as if trying to embrace the sky itself, as if trying to show her presence to God on high.
私は飛ぶわ
Then I shall fly. I don't think flying is what you're about to do. The pale blue pulsation of her sword intensified. Ayase closed her eyes once more, and in that moment a final tear dropped from the corner of her eye.
お願い
I beg of you, O greater will,
差し
take this vessel as an offering.
魂を
Take my soul away with you. And then, without a moment's hesitation, even though she's been hesitating for a while now, the girl, with nothing there to support her, took a step forward.
帰るべき場所へ
Toward the place I must return. She felt the cold caressing her cheek. Her gaze fell to the earth. Okay. Looming closer as she fell was a door, a gate. And on the other side of it was the sky Ayase desired. The hell? So is she not going to hit the ground? So there was some method to her madness? Or maybe she's just going to stand up there. I couldn't do anything but watch it unfold. But you're going to see her disappear and you're going to see the door. After Ayase spread her arms out, she slowly stepped into the thin air, as if taking a step down on a non-existent staircase. Screams began to build among the spectators, coalescing into one giant roar. With nothing left to support her, Ayase, like a puppet whose strings had been cut, fell headfirst toward the ground. Everything appeared to be in slow motion. Ayase's body was going to crash to the ground. Was it? Her descent was incredibly slow, but she was definitely falling. She was going to die. Ayase was going to die. I couldn't do anything to stop it. I couldn't save someone falling from that height. Where's Remy during all this? And there was nothing but concrete below her. It would crush all her bones, rupture all her organs, and make her dark blood and gray matter spurt out all over the ground. I wonder how, well, if she falls head first. I'm pretty sure people have survived falls from fourth-story buildings, but depending on how you land. If only there was a flower bed or something. Aim for the bushes? If only there was something soft below her. If there was, maybe it could save her. I didn't want to see someone die. As I went to close my eyes, for an ethereal moment I felt chills on the nape of my neck. I looked behind me, but not a soul was standing there. Everyone was either looking down, averting their eyes, or looking up at her. Whose eyes are those eyes? Did she actually... So, no door. A sound shook the air. The sound of a person crashing down. It was the first time I'd ever heard that sound, but it had a lot less impact than I was expecting.
まさか
What the... Next to me stood Mizumi-kun, his eyes wide as dinner plates. I expected his gaze to be tainted by dread, but the way he stared at the place Ayase had fallen was one of surprise, not horror. And it wasn't just Mizumi-kun that was like that. All of the spectators looked like they had no idea what was going on. They were all lost for words. Did she just drop her sword?
生きて
She's... alive? Huh? She was alive? Where'd the flower bed come from? Did you manifest the flower bed? Did you delusion the flower bed? Ayase wasn't getting up. I couldn't tell if her bones were crushed. I couldn't tell if her organs were ruptured. But her gray matter hadn't spurted everywhere, nor had her dark blood. A small, feeble groan escaped from Ayase's mouth. A small, feeble groan. Where was the fucking door? She was alive. She seemed to be unconscious and she wasn't moving, but she was alive. She was barely even injured. There was only a small drop of blood on her forehead. Hey, internal injuries. She might not be okay as you think she is. She had fallen from the rooftop. There's this flower bed here. We were begging for a flower bed, which implies to me there wasn't one, and now there is one. But there she was, lying there almost completely unharmed, lying atop a flower bed. A flower bed? Was there always a flower bed there? So it was something you brought up. Well. Let's let this scene roll because these are usually pretty short. It appears there was quite the discrepancy between what we had envisioned and the actual results. I assure you, it was merely the first step toward evolution. You neglected to inform us that the number of fatalities would exceed 100! Was the plan flawed from the outset? No, sir. I would like the two of you to reflect upon the evolutionary process of mankind. Okay, maybe this won't be short. I can acknowledge that evolution requires sacrifice. The deaths bear no importance to me. The critical issue is how it diverged from our plans. It has always been within expectations, on the basis of my internal predictions, that is. Then why didn't you inform us beforehand? In order to control information, preliminary arrangements are required. We're not sacrificing important resources, people and money, namely, to feed your eccentricity. Remember that. Rest assured, as I previously stated, everything is within expectations. Before long, there will be no need to endure the hardship of gathering votes for the elections, nor will there be risks of prosecution for extorting political canvassing. The day we will transform Japan, no, the entire globe, is drawing nearer. Be discreet, for if the Committee of 300 discovers our mutiny against them, our lives will be forfeit. Your duty is to act in accordance with the plan. Nothing more, nothing less. We will be the ones performing adjustments. I am well aware of this. No matter. Let us hear your report regarding the second generation. So maybe the first generation was the gathering in the park. The second generation was the white sky earthquake nonsense. Very well. You gentlemen will be pleased to hear the final results. Noah 2 is something we'll hear about later. I wonder if Ayase is going to be rather surprised that she jumped off a roof and realized, what the hell was I doing? But we'll find out later, because our boy bolted from the school as fast as he could and ran all the way to the park. Man, he is getting his cardio in during this story. But, yeah, I guess we'll call it there. Should be kicking off, yo. It'll be interesting to hear what the hell is literally any of this. I don't know where to connect the dots yet. Is Shogun in cahoots with this organization? Is he doing his own thing? Is he in our head? Is he someone else? Is Remy real? Is she not real? She didn't show up today. Not sure why, but I guess we'll see what we find out in the next episode. The chapter is called Noah, so we are knee-deep in it now, boys. How knee-deep? Well, you'll find out when you come back next time. I hope to see you then. Take care. Have a great week. I know you will. Click the things. Never mind. I know you already have. You better have. I'm going to find you if you didn't. Bye-bye.